Welcome and thank you for tuning into A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 with Lindsay, Manisha, Nilafar, Sonas, Isaiah, and Kristen.
We are third-year nursing students at Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo. We are here working to demystify health issues in and around our community, bringing you evidence-based information about your healthcare options.
This information is for educational purposes only and does not replace the advice of your primary healthcare provider.
We'd like to start by acknowledging and thanking the Nanaimo First Nations, whose traditional territory we have the opportunity to learn, live, and share educational experiences on.
Good morning, CHLY listeners. It is a new season and a new sound. This is Lindsay. We have a bit of a different show format today. This year we have a new group of BSN nursing students from VIU taking over A Sound Constitution. So we wanted to take the opportunity to introduce ourselves and give a peek into upcoming shows in the following months. For the first part of the show, I will be talking to Manisha about how we came to be nursing students and what our interests are. And throughout the show, we will be giving you an insight into where you might find nurses in the community and what they do. Hello, Manisha.
Hi, Lindsay, and hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into CHLY 101.7 FM. We're going to start off today with Lindsay saying a few words about herself.
Thanks, Manisha. I'm actually originally from South Africa, but I have lived all over North America. I have 3 kids, and I volunteer with the local Scouts group to be closer to my kids and to give back to the community. Manisha, tell us something about you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Right now, I live in Nanaimo, and I'm a third-year nursing student at Vancouver Island University. I've always been a spiritual person and practiced meditation and mindful exercises regularly. I like being out in nature and going for walks and hikes, and I used to work as a tax professional before I started nursing. I really enjoyed the work, but I'm glad to be a nursing student now.
I actually worked as a medical office assistant for many years in Alberta. I worked closely besides a few master's nurses and nurse practitioners. I really admired them and their work seemed really interesting. So that's when I started to work towards getting into the nursing program. What about you, Manisha?
I chose nursing because I like working with people and helping them. I'm a compassionate person by nature, as you know, and usually relate to people's feelings. I was working in the business field before, and personally, I hated charging people every time I did their taxes. I appreciate that the healthcare coverage in Canada doesn't involve money, so I don't have to deal with that. Therefore, the nursing profession has been ideal for me, where I can enable people to take charge of their health and make healthy lifestyle choices. I find it really rewarding to be in this profession. It has helped me build resilience and put more time in self-care. How has it changed you, Lindsay?
Well, I'm definitely much more tired now, but I agree. Any vigorous program changes your perspective on life. One thing we do have in common, though, is that we are both immigrants. However, our experience coming to Canada looked very different. What did your journey look like?
My journey was full of struggle. My journey is a result of the work done by feminists. My grandmothers were never allowed to go to school and were married underage to older men. My mom was pulled out of school for arranged marriage, and here I am pursuing my dreams. I came here as an international student, where I had to pay the student fees 3 times more than domestic students. I completed my business diploma and worked in that field for a bit until I got my permanent residency. Then I decided to go back to school and take nursing, as at this time my student fees was not 3 times more than the regular fees. What was it like for you to come to Canada?
I think it was much easier for me as I was still in elementary school. It's kind of a funny story, though, because one thing I do remember quite well is the first day I landed was November 1st. We moved to Toronto, And we were just coming from Cape Town, South Africa, so there was no jackets or anything like that sold at the stores there. Nothing big and thick that you would find here in Canada anyway. So when we landed, it was about 10 degrees and still at the beginning of winter, and it was the coldest I had ever felt. And I actually saw people walking around Toronto wearing shorts still, as I'm sure you've seen people do here at 10 degrees weather. But there was a little bit of culture shock at first. Being from a slightly different culture, it can be quite socially isolating. But as a child, I had a little more resiliency and was able to integrate into Canadian culture. But I am glad to be in Canada with the opportunity to become a nurse.
As you were talking about cultural shock, that obviously happened to me as well. It was hard to adjust at first, but then slowly I started liking it here, and now I love it here.
And Canadians are very kind and welcoming, though. So where do you want to work once you graduate, Manisha?
So far, I've liked all the areas that I was placed in, but specifically, I would like to work in medicine or surgical area right after I graduate, but not where you perform surgeries, mostly like post-surgical care. I had my previous semester done on that floor, and where I just loved working, and I would love to pursue to work there in future. What about you, Lindsay?
Well, I actually entered the program thinking I was going to get into public and population health because that's where I worked as a medical office assistant. But in my second year, while I was on the surgical floor where you want to work, I actually got to spend a day in the OR, and I just fell in love with the work there. The nurses were so cool, and I just really liked the teamwork that they kind of exuded in that area. So for now, that's where I want to work, but I do seem to enjoy every placement that I go to as a student.
That's quite interesting, as you said, how your interests changed throughout the program. Same thing happened, I'm sure, with a lot of students, including me. I wanted to always work in psychiatry when I entered the program, but now I just fall in love with the skills you do at other floors, and obviously working with people and talking to them as well. In future, I can pursue that as well, go back to psychiatry.
Yes, there's so many areas that you can work in as a nurse.
For sure. So that was me and Lindsay talking about ourselves and why we came into nursing and our life stories. Now we're going to have a Mythbuster section. As you know, there are many myths about nursing since the profession has been around. Have you heard of the phrase nursing is easy and they only do the messy work every day? Well, this is a common misconception which we have heard several times in our own practice or interaction with family or friends.
But in reality, nurses have their own scope of practice, which is described and regulated by their professional body.
For example, in order to be a registered nurse, you would have to take a 4-year Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree, which includes courses such as Anatomy and Physiology, which is the study of body parts and their functions, Pathophysiology, which is the study of diseases, Pharmacology, which is the study of medications, and so much more. After the degree, the graduate nurse has to pass the licensing test called the NCLEX in order to be a registered nurse.
They also have a wide range of responsibilities such as teaching, advocating, participating in research, and protecting and saving lives. A fun fact: nurse is a protected title, so it is illegal to call yourself a nurse without the proper education and licensure.
Here is Jets Overhead with their song Boredom and Joy.
I wanna see where the river goes. Take a paper boat to the coast. On the streets I will ride.
Hello and welcome back to A Sound Constitution with CHLY 101.7. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Isaiah.
And we are third-year nursing students here at Vancouver Island University. I'm excited to be here and experiencing a different part of Canada.
What is the different part of Canada you're experiencing?
Well, I'm actually originally from Calgary, Alberta, so I'm new here to Vancouver Island. And I'm quite thankful I don't have to deal with minus 20-degree winters anymore, especially right now given the temperatures they have. Ooh, boy. What about yourself there, Isaiah?
I was born in the Comox Valley. I moved around the island a bit, but I mostly stayed in Comox until I came here for school.
Okay. What made you interested in attending school in Nanaimo?
When I was in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I graduated, and I didn't want to go into the workforce right away, so I went to North Island College and took some general studies, things like psych, math, English, etc. After my first year in college, I didn't really have any direction still, but I knew that I liked working with people. I kind of decided out of the blue that I was going to pursue my career as a counselor, but once I realized that was about 8 years of school, I definitely backed out of that one.
Wow, 8 years?
Yeah, long time. I had to do something. I don't particularly like working in the rain or the cold, which Vancouver Island seems to specialize in.
You know, it's a small bit of rain here.
So I wanted to work with people, and I like biology as well. So I went onto Google and typed in jobs with people in biology. Marine biology came up, which is weird because I typed in people in biology. Conservation officer, nope. Nursing? I don't know how I didn't think of that from the start. As soon as the idea developed in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I went onto the VIU website and typed in entry requirements for nursing. I compared my grades with the entry requirements, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to do some upgrading here. So I moved to Nanaimo, where I stayed on the campus residence and started my upgrading. I met a ton of cool people there. It's such a great environment. Anyways, I completed my upgrading and applied to the nursing program the following year. I was starting my journey.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Kristen?
Well, I got into nursing after doing quite a few other occupations in my 20s. And you know, before you ask, a lady never tells her age. I'm forever young. While I'm quite technically able to work in a lot of the professions really well that I did back in my 20s there, nothing really stuck for very long. I always kind of got bored and wanted to kind of do more new and exciting things there. So it came to a point where I really needed to look at what I enjoyed doing and kind of something that can give me a challenge and be able to kind of refresh my skills every 2 years there. Did do massage therapy way back after I was done high school there, and so that kind of led me thinking that I'd still really enjoy human body, how it works, the anatomy, physiology behind it, and I really enjoyed working with people and helping people. I had some friends at the time also that were RMTs or paramedics there, and I was inquiring about them, just kind of being able to kind of be out in the field and being able to kind of do something different and new every day there. But they actually recommended me to nursing there, just kind of the burnout for RMTs and paramedics. So I got really thinking. I was like, yeah, you know, nursing sounds like a great fit for me. So it kind of something that also surprised me, similar to you there, Isaiah, when I was looking at the requirements for the nursing program, is how competitive it was. You know, it was very similar to what you did. In Alberta at the time, the competitive grade to even have a chance of like getting into the program or being considered for it, let alone like this is way above and beyond the minimal requirements to get into the program, was 96% from high school.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was in high school, getting 96 was not high on my list of priorities to do at that time. So,
Me neither.
So like you, I needed to do some upgrading. And also open myself up to the idea that maybe Alberta might not be the best place for me to pursue nursing education. So I basically applied nationwide from Ontario to British Columbia there. And VIU was one of the places that sent me acceptance letters. And, well, the rest is all history. So kind of now that we had a few years under our belt, how are you finding the program there, Isaiah? And what motivates you to keep going?
I like the program a lot. It's great. Vancouver Island University is an excellent school, and I especially appreciate the faculty here. What motivates me to keep going? Probably the effect that you can have on people. I remember going to the hospital a couple times as a kid, and every time you go to the hospital, you got to have blood taken. They like to analyze your blood. They're vampires. I remember distinctly hating needles. I still don't like them, but it's okay. I was the person who would have to have blood taken, and I'd be passed out 5 minutes later. I really disliked them. But after going to the hospital a few times for miscellaneous, whatever, and of course having to have blood taken, the nurses are always the people who made me feel the most comfortable. They always knew what to say. They always knew how to say it and when to say it. And it really helped me get over my fear of needles.
Okay.
So this is just a story, but it represents the impact that nurses had on me while my stay in the hospital. I guess reflecting a little bit further, nobody really likes the hospital. I mean, I do, but most people don't. Now, it doesn't have to be a needle, but if I can provide someone with a sense of comfort, to make their stay in the hospital a little bit better, I can't think of anything else that I'd rather be doing. Honestly, no matter what else is going on in my life, if I'm tired, I'm stressed out, or whatever, the sense of well-being I get is unreal.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to you on that statement there, Isaiah. So what are some of the challenges you faced so far?
Well, school's pretty tough. A lot of homework. No, it's manageable. I think the hardest thing for me is probably turning it off when you go home. Like I was saying, the sense of well-being I get from this job is indescribable. But there's another feeling that's unavoidable when you see the unfortunate inevitable happen. You're either discovering someone's going to pass away, or that they're not going to walk again, or that the patient that you're working with is bound to stay in the hospital for another 6 months. That stuff's kind of hard to forget about when you're going home.
Yeah.
But if I reflect on my practice at the end of the day and I know that I gave it my all, then there's nothing further that I can do, and I know that I've done my part. I love it, though, nursing. I mean, there's something new every day, and the variety of people I get to meet makes it all worth it.
Okay.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite and least favorite part of nursing?
All right. Papers. I dislike papers with a passion.
Me too.
But I can understand the need for such in an academic program. But, I actually love all of the nursing programs so far. I've, even the tough anatomy physiology or the health sciences that we've had to do, pathophysiology and all the pharmacology we've had to do. Just learning everything from like top to bottom, all the nitty-gritty details, to the new skills that we learn in lab, to all the theory and research behind how we know what we know as a nurse. I love being able to try new skills on a client with instructor guidance, and then talking with them after and learning how to improve the skill there and when my hands aren't shaking uncontrollably. While nursing does teach you what you need to know and how to think like a nurse, it has also taught me more about myself and how to grow as an individual. If someone gave me a time machine and told me to, if I'd go back and do it all over again, I'd say yes in a heartbeat, tears and all. So I hear you on the toughness of programs. There definitely have been days where I've broken down and cried from some of the extra work and wondering whether or not I'm going to get through this program or not. So, but also like one of the big things I've taken away from my time here is how aware and how kind to yourself you need to be and how to maintain your own health and well-being. Also really with any post-secondary education and further advancement that you're going through, I can only imagine what other students can also go through, the stress of exams and, the paper that I do like the next day at midnight and trying to get that all done and have a social life and try not to rip your hair at the same time. So this is why I'm excited to be part of a sound constitution with you and the others, so we can easily talk with those around us and kind of give them tips and tricks to kind of stay healthy and well there. And one of the areas that I'm really passionate about is nutrition and what your body needs to kind of keep it going there. That's why for this season, I'll be looking at nutrition and taking a deeper look into the new Canada Food Guide and, kind of looking at the recommendations that I've proposed so far. We'll also be looking at the different diets and tips and tricks you can use to ensure that you make healthy and informed choices on what's right for you. This show will air April 4th and will be the last ones for this new season of A Sound Constitution. So, Isaiah, what areas of health and wellness are you interested in and going to be talking to us about this season?
Well, I'm going to be talking about mental health and addictions on March 28th. Okay. Same time, 10 to 11 a.m. every Thursday, CHLY 101.7 FM. This area is particularly fascinating to me because it's so applicable to health and wellness. I truly believe that a healthy mind is a healthy you. I believe that everyone can benefit from increasing their knowledge in this area. I'm not going to give any spoilers about what I'm going to be talking about, so tune in and give it a listen.
Oh, okay. I look forward to that. Well, there are still 2 more hosts that we need to introduce, so after this break, we'll hear from Nilafar and Sanaz on their experience with the nursing program so far. You may be seeing hearts around those you love, but do you know that your heart only beats for you? Here's some interesting facts about your own heart.
Speaking of beating, did you know that your heart beats about 100,000 times a day? Your heart is a muscle about the size of your fist, and does it ever work hard for you? For the typical adult, at rest, between 4 to 8 liters of blood is pumped out of the heart per minute. It sends oxygen-rich blood throughout your whole body through vessels called arteries. Your blood returns back to your heart to repeat the journey through veins. With all this going on, it takes approximately 1 minute for blood to circulate your whole body.
With your heart working hard for you, it is important to work hard for your heart. As your heart is a muscle, make sure to feed it with the proper food such as whole grains, fruits, vegetables, low-fat meat, and to ensure you get enough fiber in a day. To keep it strong, be sure to work it out with regular physical activity. Think about stairs instead of taking the elevator, or parking just a bit further away. Exercise does not have to be all doom and gloom though. Make a list of all the physical activities you enjoy and see if there are groups out there with similar interests such as yoga or hiking groups.
For more easy tips and tricks on changes you can make to keep your heart healthy, be sure to check out the resources on the Heart and Stroke Foundation's website at www.heartandstroke.ca.
Hello and welcome back again. You're listening to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM. My name is Nilufar and I'm here along with my sister Sanaz.
Hello.
We're both third-year nursing students and we'll share with you our journey to receive a higher education.
We are from historic land of Iran and finished our high school there. About 6 years ago, we immigrated from Iran to Canada in pursuing further education. As some of you may already be aware, in Iran, minors do not receive the same rights as the other citizens. One group of minors who are under extreme pressure from the governments are the Baha'is. They are deprived of work and education simply due to their beliefs.
Thanks, Sanaz. Now our audience may be curious that what is the Baha'i faith? Would you like to give an overview?
Sure. Baha'i faith is an independent religion and some of its teachings are unity of mankind, universal peace, equality of man and woman, universal compulsory education, and elimination of extreme wealth and poverty.
Due to deprivation of education in colleges and universities by the government, Baha'is developed an online university called Baha'i Institute for Higher Education. The classrooms and lecture halls are actually at homes. In collaboration with various online universities across the globe and Baha'i professors who were fired by the government, the classes are taught. This program has significantly helped educate thousands of Baha'i youth, and a lot of them were accepted to continue their graduate study in well-known universities all over the globe.
I would like to highlight that Baha'i Institute for Higher Education is one of the leading universities in Iran, renowned for its commitment to high academic standards, international collaboration, and its innovative teaching-learning environment. It is extremely difficult to study in Baha'i Institute for Higher Education. This is because it is not in conventional classrooms. Majority of their courses are online and students have to travel across the country for monthly classes. Baha'i students have shown their perseverance and eagerness to participate regardless of these challenges.
As I already mentioned, universal education is part of the belief of the Baha'i faith, and in response to the suppression of Iranian government to eliminate education among the Baha'i youth. The youth in Iran came up with a very peaceful and beneficial solution which required perseverance and hard work, and it demonstrated resilience. Many Baha'i families left the country to provide educational opportunities for their children in other parts of the world. Our family was one of them. There were many hardships and challenges for us to come to Canada, and our parents made a lot of sacrifices to leave their homeland for a better future for their children.
Now we would like to express how grateful we are to have this opportunity to study nursing, which is all about serving and caring for people. And due to this fact, we are extra determined to educate ourselves as much as possible, especially since our Baha'i sisters and brothers in Iran are deprived.
Okay, Sanaz, now would you like to share what motivated you to come into the nursing?
Sure. Since I was a child, I never thought that I would go to university, and if people ask me what I wanted to do when I grow up, that wasn't even a relevant question to me because in reality that wasn't an option. Not only I was a woman, I was also a Baha'i. It would have never been an option for me, so when I came to Canada, it was such a turmoil. It was so hard for me to decide what I wanted to do. So I started exploring how can I help my community, and I came to a realization that any job in a spirit of service is worship. Also, any job can help to progress humanity, especially if my heart and mind is also connected to what I'm doing. So given that I've been reflecting on this in a small period of time, I also started thinking about what I'm good at and what's the needs of people around me. And I came to a realization that science has always been part of my life and it's been interesting to me. I also love working with people, so how can I combine these two? So I began looking in different programs and courses, and I noticed nursing will be fitting to me. And now I'm third-year nursing student. I'm learning new things every day. I believe the opportunity for growth is almost unlimited in this program. What about you, Nilufar? What made you choose nursing?
Well, just like you, Sanaz, when I came to Canada, I started exploring different programs and courses to see what is my area of interest. After looking into the nursing program, I realized that this is what I want. I believe nursing is a very meaningful and rewarding profession, filled with many opportunities. By working as a nurse, I can make a difference in people's lives, and most importantly, I can give back to my community.
Welcome back. You are listening to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM. In a few weeks, I will be hosting a show on immigrant health. Immigration is not a new phenomenon, but rather has deep roots in human history. We know that for many years, settlers and immigrants have contributed to the diversity and richness of our beautiful country. We will explore how newcomers access healthcare services. What are the challenges and issues they might encounter?
In the next show, we will be focusing on mental health in youth ages 11 to 15. Both Sanaz and I actively volunteer with youth of this age group, and we acknowledge that there is a big transition that takes place moving from childhood to maturity. We will be further exploring struggles they may face while experiencing this transition in our show. We will also take a look on the collaboration among individual, community, and the different institutions of the society and how they can unite to support this age group. Thank you for listening to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM.
And now for some good news.
HealthLink BC is empowering British Columbians to take control of their own health. 811 is a free-of-charge provincial health information and advice phone line available in British Columbia. If you call 811, you can speak to a health service navigator who can help you find health information and services and connect you directly with a registered nurse, a registered dietitian, a qualified exercise professional, or even a pharmacist to help you manage your health concerns or those of your family. Did you find a weird rash in the middle of the night? Well, you can speak to the registered nurse for non-emergency health concerns, discuss symptoms, or even upcoming procedures. The registered nurse can also recommend whether you should see a healthcare provider in person. They are available at any time of the day or night, every day of the year. What's that new Health Canada food guide about? Registered dietitians at HealthLink BC can answer your healthy eating and nutrition questions. They also provide specialized services for pediatric oncology and allergy nutrition. You can reach them at 811 from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Also, you can reach them by email on the healthlinkbc.ca website. You're at the gym or maybe laying on the couch watching too much Netflix and have a question about exercise all of a sudden. The qualified exercise professionals at HealthLink BC can answer your physical activity and exercise questions. They can also prescribe physical activity and provide exercise advice or guidance to individuals of all ages and abilities. They have specialized services for pediatric and bariatric exercise as well. To speak with a qualified exercise professional, call 811 Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. You can also email them on healthlinkbc.ca. Perhaps you have a question about the medications you're on. You can also call 811 to talk to a pharmacist. They're available every night from 5 p.m. till 9 a.m. HealthLink BC has made the 811 service easily accessible. They have translation service on request in more than 130 languages. After dialing 811, you'll be connected with an English-speaking health service navigator. To get service in another language, simply state the language you are looking for, such as Punjabi, and an interpreter will join the call. For those who are deaf or hard of hearing, they can call 711 to access the same services. For more information on the 811 service, go to healthlinkbc.ca or call 811 from any phone in BC.
Some good news, and then singing the blues.
If you are just tuning in, you are listening to A Sound Constitution on 101.7 CHLY, a new season, a new sound. In this next segment, Manisha is going to introduce the social determinants of health.
Many factors have an influence on health. In addition to our individual genetics and lifestyle choices, where we're born, grow, live, work, and age also have an influence on our health. Determinants of health are the broad range of personal, social, economic, and environmental factors that determine individual and population health. These circumstances are shaped by the distribution of money, power, and resources at global, national, and local levels. These determinants put the responsibility on a society as a whole to improve people's health and wellness by advocating for healthy economic and public policies. Some determinants of health include income and social status, gender, education and literacy, food insecurity, social support networks, individual health practices and coping skills, health services, employment and working conditions, healthy childhood development, gender, culture, physical environments, social support, biology and genetic endowment, and health services. Out of these determinants, I'm going to discuss the individual health practices and coping skills. Personal health practices and coping skills refer to those actions by which individuals can prevent diseases and promote self-care, cope with challenges, and make choices that enhance their health. There is a growing recognition that personal life choices are greatly influenced by socio-economic environments in which people live, learn, work, and play. Interventions that support the creation of supportive environments will enhance the capacity of individuals to make healthy life choices. Effective coping skills help people cope with the challenges without resorting into risk behaviors such as substance abuse. Negative coping skills include smoking, drinking, etc. The individual behaviors which play a major role in determining our health include physical inactivity and poor nutrition. Physical inactivity is a major risk for some type of diseases such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, obesity, hypertension, depression, stress, and anxiety. The recommendation is to meet the minimum requirement of 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per week. Poor nutrition, particularly overconsumption of fats, sugars, and salt, is linked to diseases such as cancers, cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, osteoarthritis, and gallbladder disease, and to functional limitations and disabilities. Poor nutrition is usually a result of food insecurity in the population with low income. Developing healthy personal behaviors is vital for our health and wellness. Some of these healthy behaviors are physical activity, balanced diet, and using healthy coping skills, which include meditation, yoga, mindful exercises, talking to someone for having the support, and participating in the activities that one likes. Clearly, many factors influence individual health behaviors. Developing and maintaining health-enhancing behaviors require not only health education, but also social policies related to income security, product marketing, and supportive environments to make healthy choices. Now, Lindsay is going to talk about another social determinant of health called healthy child development.
Healthy development for children and youth has a key impact on an individual's health vulnerability, not just in the early years, but throughout their life. A number of important childhood factors that can have long-term developmental outcomes on health and social functioning have been identified. These include poverty, family stability and violence, social assistance dependency, residing in public housing, and related factors that reflect social conditions that affect children during their formative years. As childhood development has a significant impact on an individual's mental and physical health, later in life it is important to intervene early. A child's early experiences and development establish a foundation that will impact school readiness, educational achievement, and high school completion, which ultimately contribute to employment and income security. Next, we're going to hear from Kristen, who will be talking about housing as a social determinant of health.
Building off what Lindsay and Manisha discussed about the social determinants of health, I'll be taking a brief look at housing. Housing, or lack thereof, can have an immediate and long-term impacts on your health. A recent report states that if someone lives in substandard housing, such as a building being old, cramped, or has insufficient heating or ventilation, they are more likely to have poorer health than those living in standardized housing. This determinant of health is also compounded on the fact that, on average, when people spend excessive amounts of income on housing, there are fewer resources available for other health essentials. In fact, according to the Canadian Rental Housing Index, 48% of the renters in Nanaimo spend more than 30% of their income on rent and utilities, and 23% of the population pays more than 50% of their income on rent and utilities. So a person who spends more than 30% of their monthly income on housing has to battle with whether they pay for rent or pay for other necessities such as food to maintain their health. Studies suggest that affordable housing improves our health outcomes by freeing up resources for these essential items. On top of that, it also reduces stress, environmental exposures that can affect our health, as well as provides the stability that enables those living with chronic health illnesses to access and maintain the level of care that they need. Here in Nanaimo, there are groups to help tackle this determinant of health, such as the Nanaimo Affordable Housing Society. This group looks at providing people with inclusive housing options and looks at ways to help maintain their tenants' stability and wellness. In addition, the Regional District of Nanaimo has put together a list of all available resources here. A link to this document will be listed on our Facebook page after the show. This list includes emergency shelters, supportive housing, and senior living, to name a few of the categories. While these two groups work locally to tackle this determinant of health, the BC Alliance for Healthy Living looks at tackling this issue at a higher governmental level. They recommend policies that should be put in place at provincial and municipal levels to tackle the issue of affordable housing for British Columbians. These are just but a few of the resources available here in BC and Nanaimo locally. If you feel there are any additional resources we should add, give us a comment on our Facebook page after the show there.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. That is such awesome information you have given us, and those are some really excellent resources as well. Another social determinant of health, believe it or not, is gender. The Public Health Agency of Canada defines gender as the array of society-determined roles, personality traits, attitudes, behaviors, and influence that society gives the two sexes. This is not to be confused with genders. With the progressive nature of gender expression that is occurring in our time, I can foresee some of these words being changed around, but as of now, that is the definition that stands. Now, you might be wondering, how does gender determine your health status, and why is it deemed a social determinant of health? Well, many of the health issues you may be experiencing could be a direct result of your sex. For instance, a study conducted by our Federal Advisory Committee on Population Health showed that in Canada, men are more likely to die prematurely than women are. This is largely a result of heart disease and suicide. Women, on the other hand, are more likely to fall into the clutches of depression and stress. Furthermore, gender plays a role in how you experience sex-specific health concerns. For instance, women don't inherently have to worry about prostate cancer, just as men don't inherently have to worry about issues with their pregnancy. If you like what you've heard so far about the social determinants of health and want to learn more about how they could be affecting you, check out www.healthypeople.gov. This will also be linked in our Facebook page.
The next segment of the show, we'll be hearing from Nilafar and Snaz about education and poverty, a social determinant of health. But first up, here is the Glorious Sons with Everything Is All Right off their album Young Beauties and Fools.
Well, I spent all my money on a pack of cigarettes for a lady that I love with the name I forget. That night I taught her how to laugh, she taught me how to slow dance. I tried to take her home, she said you don't stand a chance. I'm the closest thing my mother had to her daughter. I used to be ashamed of that, but now I'm kinda flattered. I learned that my weakness is a weapon anyway, so I haven't touched a pretty thing in 40 days. Everything is alright, if only for the night. I forgot what it feels like. I set out on a dream that I couldn't understand. It made me happy, sad, love, lonely, and numb to what I had. A few too many favors from a few too many fake friends. I wake up in the afternoon and do it all again. Yeah, I punched a man on his wedding night. I'm still trying to figure out how to apologize. I learned the morning light can't fix nothing anyway, so I haven't touched a pretty thing in 40 days. Everything is alright, if only for the night. I forgot what it feels like. Everything is alright, if only for the night. I forgot what it feels like. Can you see it, baby? Everything is alright, if only for the night. I forgot what it feels like. Everything is alright, if only for the night. I forgot what it feels like. I spent all my money on a pack of cigarettes for a lady that I love with a name I forget. And I learned the morning light can't fix nothing anyway, so I haven't touched a pretty thing in 40 days.
That was the Glorious Sons with Everything Is Alright off their album Young Beauties and Fools. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to A Sound Constitution on 101.7 CHLY, a new season, a new sound.
In this segment, we are going to talk about education. Education is an essential right to which every human being is entitled and has the potential to shape the entire communities. It helps individuals to discover their capabilities and to live meaningful lives. Because of this fact, United Nations emphasized on the significance of education and how it leads to universal peace as well as achieve a united, healthy world. It also stated that education is not only about attaining academic skills and knowledge, but also acquisition of moral and good conduct. If you remember, at the beginning of the show, we talked about Baha'i faith, and one of the teachings by Baha'u'llah, the founder of Baha'i faith, is regard man as a mind rich in gems of inestimable value. Education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. In today's society, the education can be undervalued. This is clear in a way that world's nations invest their efforts and resources into warfare rather than education. There are still numerous places in the world whose people don't have access to basic education. Even in developed countries, Where people have access to education, there is not much value invested on pursuing of knowledge and desire for learning. For example, some people see education as a burden or an obstacle, preventing them from having fun. Education is also one of the most important social determinants of health, which can change the foundation of society and help to progress individuals, communities, and institutions. Education is not just a school education, but also knowledge about diet, exercise, self-care, and so much more. Researchers have found that people with more education tend to have a healthier lifestyle and live longer. Undoubtedly, education helps us increase our understanding of how an individual can promote one's own well-being through their lifestyle choices. In addition, education develops one's intellectual skills to identify and understand the difference between the dietary or lifestyle habits that might be harmful or beneficial to their own health and make a sound decision for their well-being.
Nurses can play a major role to increase public awareness of different healthcare topics such as diet, disease control, hygiene, and many more. The book Social Determinants of Health, The Canadian Fact, stated that achieving education enables us to act larger and become protagonists of change regardless of where we live. That ties in with Nelson Mandela's quote about education. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Further, we can serve our community and strive to make a better world. There are a lot of people alongside nurses who are striving to provide education for all children. For example, there are some successful and sustainable non-governmental organizations that are working from the grassroots, such as Mona Foundation, to educate all children and enhance the opportunities for women and girls to become empowered, strive for excellence, learn ethics, and serve their communities. Government-funded adult upgrading grants is something that BC's government is doing to support those with low income who have desire to pursue or complete their educations. Poverty is a growing public health concern in society and around the world. It is known to lead to differential health and treatments of individuals who are in those unfortunate conditions. To put this in simpler words, poor people have less access to health care. However, it is not a direct cause and effect. It is a circle because lack of access to resources such as healthcare and transportation can lead people to be in poverty. It can impede people's ability to access proper nutrition, health resources, and employment. There are some available resources in Nanaimo that provide food and vegetables for low-income population, such as loaves and fishes. There are different locations and dates that people can access fresh food, which is collected from local markets. They have been partnering with some local grocery markets in Food for You recovery program. Nurses have a special and unique role of being able to take the time to assess the sociologic, psychologic, and physical landscape of their patients and assessing what may be contributing to their current health status. It is a known fact that those who live in poverty have negative health outcomes associated with limited healthcare access, lack of nutrition, as well as congested and shared physical and social environments that facilitate the easy spread of disease. For example, the disease could be anything from the head lice passing from person to person or Ebola. Nurses can identify the barriers between their patients and the needed education and connection with community supports, and they can also formulate stronger relationships with their patients in order to follow up and ensure that patients are taken care of and educated. Many patients in poor areas are isolated from their families, so the nurse provides much needed support. Transportation, surprisingly, also plays a big role in the determination of poverty as well as health outcomes, as those who lived further away from necessary public transportation services were unable to go to employment, seek out healthcare, or reach suitable grocery stores with better nutritional offers. Recognizing this problem, BC Transit introduced the Bus Pass program, which provides annual pass for low-income seniors and people with disabilities and restricted incomes. Although transit authorities provide options for seniors and people with disabilities, low-income people have limited options. In bigger cities such as Vancouver, there is a movement to provide free transportation for low-income residents. But like most programs, somebody has to pay for it, so the working people might object to paying more. There needs to be policy-level work to address these concerns at municipal, provincial, and federal level. Access to healthcare, access to proper nutrition, the spread of disease and infection, as well as transportation problems need to be considered and can be fixed with allocated resources as well as community involvement.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isaiah, and you are listening to A Sound Constitution. It is February the 14th, and you know what that means. That 2 weeks have passed since the start of February. No, it means that it's the day of loving and cards with hearts on them. It's Valentine's Day. Wait, what? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself what Valentine's Day actually is, and why it is that we decide to buy our significant others beautiful bouquets of flowers on this day? Well, here is your actual factual information of the day in spirit of all that love that Nanaimo harbors. I bring you history, a mystery? While the exact origins of Valentine's Day are unknown precisely due to numerous translations and transcriptions over the past 1700 years, according to Ruth Webb Lee in her historical compilation, A History of Valentines, Valentine's Day most likely dates back as far as the ancient Romans. The legend that has the most evidence behind it is that Valentine, or Valentinus, was a priest in 3rd century Rome. Another gentleman by the name of Emperor Claudius II, who at this time had Rome under persecution, decreed that any man providing aid and comfort to Christians at the time was to be looked upon as a criminal. Back to Valentinus now. After being accused of performing valiant service in assisting Christian martyrs, he was imprisoned for a year before being taken before the Roman Emperor Claudius II, where he was condemned to being beaten and then beheaded. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Apparently, through information recalled from 1493 in the Nuremberg Chronicle, Valentinus was said to have taken a liking to his captor's blind daughter. Undoubtedly saddened by his fate, he wrote to her on the eve of his death and signed it, "From your Valentine." While this theory seems to be a bit of a long shot, it adds to the beauty of Valentine's Day. Valentinus is now buried in the Church of Praxedes in Rome. So, not that I am aiding or embedding any religious groups under persecution of tyranny, but I sure am glad I'm not subject to the 3rd century judicial system. This has been History, a Mystery with Isaiah. Now, go get some flowers for your love and let the remainder of this day be filled with happiness. Thanks, St. Valentine. Another excuse for me to stuff my face with chocolate. I know, chocolate's bad for you, yada yada. I'm hoping that Kristen and the gang will be able to change my ideas on nutritious snacks when they address nutrition as a health topic on CHLY 101.7 FM. I can't wait to hear what they have to talk about. Thank you so much for giving us a listen, and tune in next week at 10 to 11 a.m. for more radical evidence-informed health topics with ASC, A Sound Constitution. As we come to the end of the episode, we encourage you to reach out to your healthcare practitioner and other health professionals for more information. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and as always, check out our Facebook page for resources from today's show.
If there is anything you would like to hear us talk about, let us know by email at asoundconstitution@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to A Sound Constitution on CHLY 101.7 FM.